Both got reps with runs.
So, last time we did this, I was having the conversation with you, and you were saying some subtweeting of former players, maybe? Like, you could interpret it that way. You could interpret Stan Drayton's answer about where Kaytron Allen and Nick Singleton needed to grow in their development as maybe doing the same thing about their old position coach. I don't know. That's why Nate's here. And here's the clip of Stan Drayton talking after practice on Thursday.
The instincts are there, but not necessarily the understanding of what they're doing. They were always reacting at a high level, at an elite level. Now it's time to anticipate. All right, in order to do that, you got to learn defense. You got to understand how your formation is going to set a defense and how that defense is going to fit that formation. You got to understand linebacker flow. You got to understand indicators and pass protection. All that stuff was not developed, right? So they had a huge learning curve as far as that's going, and we're trying to slow the game down. And to be quite honest with you, the game is just now starting to slow down for them on those things. You know, so it was a huge learning curve of just taking their learning to the next level. To be elite, that's what it's got to be.
So the implication there would be that they were not coached on those particular details, but I also want there to be some reasonable interpretation. So, Nate, is that a fair read?
Yes, right.
Okay.
That it was. Here's my problem. I don't think he meant it as an absolute, that it wasn't ever developed. It's that it wasn't developed to the level that it needs to be for them to be. Right.
He did say it was very raw. Like, I mean, he used very clear language in other parts of the clip of not developed, very raw. Now it's just starting to slow down. I guess I struggle to interpret it any other way. That's my problem.
Yeah. And look, it's there. It's right under the surface. You've seen the tweets from the guy that used. Look, I'm not going to say bad things about Jaywan Sider. I thought he was great at Penn State.
Yeah.
You know, he has had some choice reactions on Twitter to certain things that involve both Penn State and Notre Dame this offseason. And so, you know, I think that it's fair to say there's a little bit of, and again, I mean, even James Franklin's public comments this summer talking about how important it is to get new eyes, right, for Nick and Kaytron and the next step that those guys can take as running backs under Stan Drayton. The thing that I want to know, T-Frank, because I was having a conversation about this weekend. Did you and I have a conversation, not on camera, about this very thing before Stan Drayton started talking about it, or did we have it after Stan Drayton started talking about it? So I don't remember.
So here's the timeline of how all this plays out in my head. Stan Drayton's hired. I go and research Stan Drayton. I try to learn more about him. I find a coaching clinic where he did this at Texas during COVID, and he talked about this like very explicitly, understanding the defensive alignment, where the three technique is lined up, what that means for your run scheme, and how you need to anticipate all these. So, like, I had this information. We asked him about it during his introductory press conference. So it feels like the commingling of these things happened almost instantaneously. Yeah. And on top of that, James Franklin, I think his initial conversation was about these things of being complimentary to Jaywan Sider, but saying, like, this is the kind of TRDL of this has been Jaywan was very good. This guy is probably better in terms of being a complete running back coach. That's my read between the lines of what James Franklin had to say this offseason.
I think that's fair. I think it's partially about growth specific to where those guys are in their career, right? That part of it is they had 3 years of development under Jaywan that was productive. They got better. They did make strides.
Yes.
But how much more? And it's funny because you can hear Andy Kotelnicki alluding to it in some of his comments this offseason about how much harder it is for coaches during preseason camp to actually coach up the guys that are really good. It's so easy to focus your attention as coaches on younger players because there's such a broad room for them to develop. Now it's about finding wins in the margins. And I think that it is fair to say, very fair to say, Penn State believes wholeheartedly that Stan Drayton is unlocking that out of these guys more than J1 had been able to at Penn State. Again, though, Tifa, were we not talking about how Nick Singleton talked during preseason media day about drilling open field moves, right? Like that's all the jump cut and the spin move and all the stuff that doesn't happen and he gets tackled in the open field. And it's again, it's beating a dead horse territory. Wasn't your comment to me that it wasn't about the physical, it's about knowing where the defender is coming from? It's about having an understanding, an intimate understanding of the defense that those guys just haven't had. They or at least for Nick, when he's in those situations. So
I want to make sure that there's some fair conversation here. J1 Sider did have, in his time at Penn State, we did have these conversations about understanding the defense, but it was more about where's the safety coming from when you're in the open field, how do you anticipate where the safety's coming from, et cetera, et cetera. More about the second level as opposed to I need to understand the offensive game plan and the interaction like an offensive lineman. This is a different level of understanding where now you are anticipating where the tackle's coming from because you understand the flow of the linebacker and the flow of the safety, because the front will tell you a lot of times which way the safeties are going to rotate. So you don't have to be waiting and looking into the secondary. If you understand the alignment and your front and your run call, you can understand I now need to know I need to hit this way. Like I get through the line here and then I need to break this way. Yeah. And that allows you, it's anticipation versus reaction. And I actually wrote about this. That's the difference in football. If you're reacting to something, 4 out of 10 times you might make a spectacular play and break a tackle. If you're anticipating and now it's a 50-50 proposition or 60% of the time you're getting extra yards, whether you're falling forward, whatever it might be, that's a massive difference. That's a superstar difference. And again, going back to our previous conversation, how do you get more linebackers in the game? How do you get more defensive linemen in the game? How do you blow teams out? Nick Singleton knows that the safety's rotating from a 2-high to a cover 3, and he's going to run opposite of that direction once he gets to the second level, and now it's a 60-yard touchdown instead of a 10-yard gain, and you're up 14-7 after your second drive.
Is it too late for me to quote Franklin?
No, go for it.
My summer interview, because I think it fits fairly seamlessly. Quote, Nick, I think sometimes your greatest strength is also your greatest weakness. He's always been so fast that I think he's relied on that speed. And when you talk about emphasizing things, I don't feel like that was emphasized enough to him that you can't just rely on your speed at this level. So things that we've been able to work on and emphasize with him all spring, all summer, and will continue to do. And then during training camp, I think those two guys are going to have a chance that once the game starts, people are going to be like, they look different. And it helps that they have a chance to play behind one of the better O-lines in college football, blah, 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 blah. But
this is the how. This is the how behind how they look different, or I should say the why. This is the why behind that particular quote. Because it's not just about, and yes, certain players are more confident and comfortable and able to use different techniques, right? So if you're a tall defensive lineman, a swim move is more usable for you than if you're a shorter guy. If you're a high cut running back, you might not be jump cutting all the time. But Nick Singleton can do it, but is he doing it in a situation where he's using that move appropriately because he knows all the things that are happening? This is the break big plays that I think Stan Drayton brings to this particular group, because it's a complete level of understanding in the run game, which I don't know, like it's both not surprising and surprising that those things, you don't naturally stumble upon those if you're a football player. Like, I guess that's the part where, are you so siloed and focused on your job that you're not picking up things that the offensive line is being taught in practice? That part I find interesting.